Good afternoon. The NTP are sounding the alarm about a provision it says was buried in the province's fall economic statement that would allow the Ford government to seize the X grounds. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live at the Princess Gates with the details. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, this was just a few lines buried inside that document that was released just over a week ago, and it has raised a lot of concerns for the NDP. You'll remember, of course, if you've been to Toronto, this is a popular place this time of year with the Royal on, but its proximity to the Ontario Place and the redevelopment happening there is the cause for this concern. So there are provisions inside of the fall economic statement bill that does allow the province to take control of some parts of the exhibition grounds, and that's raised concerns from the NDP about exactly what the government has planned there.
What is the government's plan? What are the Ford Conservatives planning to do with Exhibition Place that they need to seize this kind of control over Exhibition Place, which is owned and operated by the City of Toronto? And why the secrecy? Why bury this in the middle of a budget bill? Why not just come out transparently and say, hey, we've got plans for Exhibition Place, so we're going to be seizing control and putting it under the rubric of the Ontario Place Act?
We did get some answers in the last half hour from the office of Minister Stan Cho. He's responsible for tourism and the Ontario Place redevelopment. They say this is not about taking over Exhibition Place. This is a backstop measure to ensure that we can work in partnership with everyone to get Ontario rebuilt in a timely manner. Of course, the City of Toronto right now controls the exhibition grounds. This sort of provision would allow there to be collaboration, or the city or the province not having to go to the city if they needed water turned off, for example, or to run a new power line, again, to facilitate the Ontario Place redevelopment. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Today marks the end of municipal speed cameras in Ontario. Despite calls from several cities to keep them, the province will take them out of service today. CTV's Allison Hurst is live with reaction to this. Allison.
Nathan, we're outside the Premier Doug Ford's constituency office, where a group is planning to walk an entire marathon by circling this block here, all in protest of his move to turn off those automated speed cameras. And that was as of midnight. Any automated speed camera in Ontario stopped issuing tickets, going dark after the province passed legislation putting an end to the traffic calming measure. This despite a Sick Kids study in partnership with TMU that found a 45% reduction in speeding when the speed cameras were there. And 95% of those cameras were placed in school zones and the others were in community safety zones. The province is planning to invest $210 million to support increased road safety in school and community zones without cameras, instead, such as speed bumps, raised sidewalks, signage, and roundabouts. The province said it would provide $42 million in immediate funding to support traffic calming measures in school and community zones that previously had cameras. But this group, which is just setting up behind me right now, says that this program should not have been shut down. And we are now joined by Thomas DeVito, who is helping to organize this walk. Thomas, come on over here and just tell us a little bit about why you are walking today.
Sure. So this morning, kids across Ontario woke up to a more dangerous environment than they went to sleep. This is unacceptable. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I am walking for her. I'm walking for the 10,000 other people that we have talked to in the last month and a half since this egregious announcement was made that the life-saving speed safety camera program near our schools is going to be shutting down. It is outrageous. We know from that Sick Kids study that you mentioned how effective this tool is in reducing speeding near our schools. We know that speeding is one of the #1 causes of fatal crashes, and that fatal crashes are the #1 killer for injury-related deaths for children in Canada. It makes no sense. This is a very irresponsible decision, and we are here because this is a marathon and not a sprint. This is not over. The parents that we are working with are continued to be fired up because we know that when you mess with our kids, you mess with us. And we are calling on parents across the province to get involved. We have seen in other scandals like the Greenbelt situation that this premier, when he hears from enough people that he is doing something irresponsible, something that is bad for the province, that he will change his mind. And he is a stubborn person, but he does not have a monopoly on being stubborn. There are parents all over this province that when it comes to the safety of our kids, we are stubborn as hell too, and we're going to continue fighting, and this marathon symbolizes that.
How many people are you expecting to walk with you today?
So right now we have a small group to start off with, but we have put the calls out for social media, and we're already seeing people responding that they will join for 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps throughout the day. It is a big commitment to come out for an entire marathon. We have a core group that is doing that on behalf of the 10,000 people that I mentioned, and we hope to see many more people come throughout the day. We would love to say hi. Please come by and support this fight.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas, so much for joining us. And that petition is one that they are planning to bring inside to Ford's constituency office to present to them as well later on today. And this is a 101 roughly lap route around this block to try and make an entire marathon. Should take them roughly around 7 to 8 hours, something like that. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Allison. We're following developing news out of the downtown core where a man was rushed to hospital in life-threatening condition after a stabbing this morning. Here's a live look from the CTV News chopper at Isabella and Yonge. Emergency responders say they were called to George Hislop Park at 10:40. Toronto paramedics say they transported a patient with serious life-threatening injuries to hospital. Police say a suspect fled the area but did not give a description, and they're asking anybody with information to contact 51 Division as the investigation gets underway. And a 52-year-old crossing guard is dead after being hit by a dump truck yesterday afternoon. The crash happened around 2:30 at Mohawk Road in Upper Wentworth Street. Police say the male crossing guard who worked for the city of Hamilton died at the scene. The driver involved remained. The Ministry of Labor has been called in to investigate. And Toronto police are searching for a man who is accused of kidnapping his own son and taking him to Ethiopia. Police say 34-year-old Modupe Owase traveled with his 2-year-old son, Emmanuel, to Ethiopia Thursday without the consent of the child's mother. Investigators say they're taking all the necessary steps to find both the victim and suspect. We have more news in a moment, but first here's a live look at the forecast. Cloudy and comfortable right now in the city. There is also a chance of rain. In fact, pretty much a guarantee of rain for tomorrow. How much can we expect? Let's bring in Jessica Smith with some of the details. Will this ruin our plans for the weekend?
Maybe. It depends on how much time you're planning on spending outside. We are dry for now. We are back to a much more seasonal point after a really cool start to the week. But we are watching a system right now making its way through northern portions of Manitoba. Another one will develop a little further south, bringing the chance of some pretty heavy rain Saturday afternoon, evening, and into the start of the day on Sunday. But right now, we are dry and relatively mild. 12 right now through Windsor, 7 in Hamilton, 4 in Peterborough, and it stays relatively comfortable throughout the day. Right now through the islands and Pearson, between 7 and 8 degrees, a fairly light wind start to finish throughout the day today, and we're sitting comfortably this afternoon right around 8 throughout the bulk of the GTA. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll break down that rain to see if it's going to rain on your parade this weekend. But right now, I will send things back over to Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Ongoing tariff concerns because of the trade tensions with the United States are leading to Canadians tightening their purse strings when it comes to holiday spending this year. A Bank of Montreal survey reveals 3 in 5 Canadians plan to adjust their spending because of tariff concerns, and nearly a quarter started shopping earlier to avoid potential price increases. For more on this, let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, to what extent will tariffs and high prices perhaps cut into holiday spending this season?
Good afternoon, Nathan. Those big promotional shopping days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, they're fast approaching, which means the holiday shopping season is kicking into high gear. And this year, it appears tariffs may have a lot of us feeling more like the Grinch, cutting into our holiday spirit and also cutting into our wallets. As you mentioned, according to this newly released survey from BMO, it shows 3 in 5 Canadians are planning to adjust their holiday spending because of the potential impacts of tariffs and concerns over what it might mean on prices. So here's a closer look at some of the numbers. 37% of respondents are trying to buy their gifts with minimal impact on tariffs, including purchasing gifts made in Canada, so they're not impacted by the tariffs. Also, 25% started their holiday shopping earlier to avoid potential price increases, and about 15%, however, are budgeting more to spend on gifts in anticipation of higher prices. So Nathan, with so many of us making these lists and checking them twice, now we're seeing where we might have to pinch and where we might have to save because of the potential impacts of tariffs.
And with all that, Scott, just how much do you think the holiday price tag is expected to be?
Yeah, of course, that holiday price tag is always a stressful affair. Those post-holiday credit card bills are often sometimes terrifying to look at. And Canadians, according to the BMO survey, are planning to spend on average of just about $2,300 this holiday season. That's not just on gifts. That total includes, according to BMO, travel plans, maybe some accommodations, decorations, and food and drinks as well. So those big ticket items, but also many smaller things that can often add up, and that's where the stress comes in. About half of respondents to the survey say just thinking about holiday spending can cause financial stress, and just over a third say they feel pressure this time of year in particular to keep up with other families' spending habits, even if they can afford it. So holiday cheer, yes, but mixed with a whole lot of financial anxiety as Canadians are feeling the pinch, not just of the overall cost of living, but the concern of how tariffs might impact their holiday shopping this year, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Turning to international news, Russia launched a large drone and missile attack on Ukraine today, killing 6 people in Kyiv. It was one of the biggest attacks on the capital so far. Ukrainian officials say most of the drones and missiles were shot down, but falling debris and fires damaged high-rise apartments, a school, a medical facility, and other buildings. The city was the focus of the attacks, but drones also struck the Black Sea city of Chornomorsk, killing 2 people. Ukraine launched a missile and drone attack on Russian oil exporting infrastructure, as well as an oil refinery. In Brazil, indigenous protesters blocked the main entrance to the COP30 climate conference today. The demonstrators say they want a voice at the table. Conference participants were rerouted elsewhere, and the peaceful protest ended following a discussion with the climate talks president. Conference organizers have touted this edition of the annual meeting as an opportunity for indigenous people to have more prominence in the discussions. Catholics in Peru are paying homage to Pope Leo. Residents of the city where the statue has been unveiled consider the pontiff a cornerstone of their community after he spent more than 10 years of his religious life there. The 5-meter-high fiberglass tribute was created by a Peruvian artist and sculptor known for his religious and monumental works. It's a central feature of the so-called Pope's Route. In the UK, the King is celebrating his 77th birthday today. The monarch is traveling to Wales, perhaps offering some time to reflect on the past year. It included a visit to Canada, praying with the Pope at the Vatican, and hosting U.S. President Donald Trump at Windsor Castle. The King has been on the throne for more than 3 years. Floating LNG facilities, mines, hydro dams, and power lines. Those are among the latest round of major projects to be fast-tracked by the federal government. Prime Minister Mark Carney calls it transformational. For more on this, let's bring in CTV's Jeremy Chiron live in Ottawa. So, Jeremy, what have we been hearing from leaders across the country since the announcement?
Yeah, Nathan, look, a lot of reaction since yesterday's announcement. The latest list of projects being pushed or referred to the major projects office through the government. And there are projects kind of across the country, once again, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Premiers pretty much across the board have been quite receptive of this. Multiple premiers, though, talking about, what kind of involvement they're looking for financially from the federal government if these projects do move forward. Commitments when it comes to financial supports or commitments when it comes to any help the federal government can provide moving forward for some of these projects when it comes to buyers and promising that there will be deliverables for some of these projects. The biggest talked about thing or biggest reaction, though, has been to something that was not on the list, and that is a pipeline project. We know that Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith, who was supportive of this latest list, complimentary of the Prime Minister on moving ahead with yet another list of major projects. But not on that list was a pipeline project. And the Premier in Alberta has been in talks with the federal government. She says talks are ongoing about making changes to regulations and laws that exist that have been a deterrent for proponents to get involved with pipeline projects. And specifically, her her conversation, she says, have been centered around the potential of a pipeline to the northern coast of BC, a bitumen pipeline that would allow for Canada's oil to be exported to Asian markets, something the Premier in Alberta has been pushing for. But the biggest hurdle there is the BC government that is not on board. Premier David Eby has been clear he will not support a pipeline project through his province. So there's still many challenges when it comes to that probably most talked about project that is not on this latest list. But the other important thing to remember here is that this is kind of a first step, right? The Major Projects Office plays a role in this kind of larger process when it comes to approving these projects. None of the projects that have been referred to the office so far have been given that a stamp of a project of national interest. Then is when the government could get involved using Bill C-5 to allow for a project to really be expedited and perhaps circumvent some of the rules that are in place to ensure that these projects are moving forward quickly. So this really is only a first step. It's a list of projects that are being looked over by the Major Projects Office. Not all of them will move ahead, and they're all at different stages in terms of how close they are to completion. Some aren't even close at all. Some are still looking for proponents, looking to determine whether or not the projects are financially viable. Others are really close to the finish line, and the Major Projects Office will be looking to help get them across that finish line, Nathan.
All right, more to come. CTV Jeremy Sharon live in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
Some Canadian soccer legends are taking the pitch today, leading a girls' youth soccer clinic ahead of the National Super League final this weekend. CTV's John Musselman is live at Lamport Stadium with more, and I'm sure this game is going to do a lot for women's soccer here in this city. John.
Oh, no doubt about it, Nathan, and that was sort of the focus today of this community practice. We'll show you inside. They have the bubble up now at Lamport Stadium for the winter, but we had about at least 50, 100 young girls here participating in soccer drills on the pitch, getting help from some local coaches as well as soccer legends like Diana Matheson and, of course, Christine Sinclair. Now, the girls got a chance to work on their skills, build their confidence, and just enjoy being teammates together. This is all about building soccer in this country. And tomorrow, of course, is the Northern Super League final, so this is sort of a build-up towards that game. We did have a chance to speak with Christine Sinclair and a lot of the young girls who were at this community practice today. Here's what they told us. What about like meeting Christine and some of these pros?
Well, I'm really excited about meeting Christine.
Why?
It's just because she's a really good soccer player, and I feel like that you could learn a lot of stuff from her.
I'm a firm believer you need to see it to believe it, and these young kids up until this year had nowhere to watch, professional women's soccer, and that has all changed. And events like this, give these kids a first-hand chance to meet some of their heroes, get pictures, autographs, things like that. And I remember those moments as a kid, and they can be life-changing.
So there are a lot of smiles on the kids' faces today, meeting Christine and taking part in these events. Again, the big game is tomorrow afternoon at BMO Field. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send back to you, Nathan.
All right, thank you, John. Well, the Christmas spirit is alive and well in the city.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Christmas tree at the Eaton Centre was lit last night. At 114 feet tall, this is the tallest indoor Christmas tree in Toronto. It's located at Centre Court, and there will be hourly light and snow shows starting at 1 p.m. each day, along with a chance to visit Santa. A tree lighting ceremony marked the start of the Winter Village at the Distillery District. The 55-foot silver fir comes from a farm in Mono Township. Santa and his elves were there to count down to the big moment. There was also a performance by the tenors.
Although we are decorating for Christmas, we're getting more fall-like weather, late fall weather, as we head in towards the weekend. A little sunshine today and a much more seasonal end to the week than how we started. We'll see a daytime high right around 8 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, 7 is the seasonal norm this time of year. Right now, the hot spot, our friends down in Windsor. Into the afternoon, we'll sit at 8 degrees, a fairly light westerly wind, and that sunset time, 4:52 p.m. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including rain on the way as we head into your Saturday. All those details coming up after the break.
you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. You remember last Saturday, AFC Toronto had their big semifinal. It was snowed out. Now they got a game tomorrow. The final. Is weather going to be a factor again?
Yes, it is, but a different type of weather, different type of precipitation. It goes from being cold to still cold, but more wet. To be fair, they can do anything, and I'm so excited. And it's going to be rain, snow, shine, don't matter. The game's going to happen because obviously they played in what felt like a snowstorm the last weekend. We are in the end of the fall season, which is typical to see this unsettled weather. We had that blast of winter very early. We're now back to more typical fall weather with some active weather making its way in just in time for your Saturday afternoon. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Not getting a brilliantly sunny day start to finish, but definitely a little lighter out there, a little drier as well. So if you do have outdoor plans, maybe you're taking off a little early to kick off your weekend, we're not looking at terrible weather. We have the Royal Winter Agricultural Fair going on. There's so much happening in the city as we get ready to kick off the holiday season, but the active weather is rolling in just in time for your Saturday afternoon. So keep that in mind. At least it is seasonal today and even warmer into the day tomorrow. Now, temperature-wise, we're sitting right around 8 degrees here in the city, so just above the seasonal norm already, and we stay there throughout the day. Warm as well through Windsor. It's anywhere really north of Sudbury or east of Ottawa that we are holding on to some cooler temperatures. As we make our way throughout the afternoon, though, quite comfortable right across southern Ontario. So again, not a perfect sunny fall day, but at least we get a bit of a break from the active weather for now. Into this evening, right on par for that seasonal mark for the most part for everybody. A little cooler for our friends through Bancroft, but overall we are capping off the week very comfortably. Not much going on in the way of any extreme active weather, but we are watching a system right now making its way through portions of northern Manitoba that will join with another system sitting a little further south to bring a little bit of rain, even a little wet snow as we head in towards your Saturday afternoon. Not an all-day affair, but again, if you have outdoor plans, you're going to be watching the final. You're going to be watching anything outside, doing anything outdoors. You'll want to bring an umbrella at least for your Saturday afternoon. Again, today, quite nice. A lot of sunshine later in the day, and then that sunset is right around 4:52, so enjoy it while you can. As we get through the evening, nice and dry as well. It's really Saturday morning where the cloud cover starts, then the showers roll in. Again, this is not an all-day affair, but from about 1 p.m. onwards, we're watching for showers on and off through to about 8 p.m. and then a bit of a break. Into your Sunday, there's the chance of maybe a wet flurry. We got a bit of lake effect snow going on, heavier through Godridge, but for us here in the GTA, the downtown core, it's not too bad. Temperature-wise, again, very seasonal today, above as we head into the day tomorrow, and then we start to settle back into that right around seasonal or just below as we head through your Sunday and onwards. The good news is for next week, yes, it is cooler, but at least you get a little bit of sunshine Monday through to Wednesday. Hopefully this helps you plan. Nathan, I'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Some big changes are coming down the tracks for TTC riders, including more frequent service on the subway's Line 1.
This will make a real impact, and it's the first time since COVID that we're getting back up to these levels to meet the demands of our customers, which we've digested and looked at to see what we could do, how we could do it.
Starting Sunday, the TTC says Line 1 riders can expect trains to arrive roughly every 2.5 minutes during rush hour and more frequent service throughout the day. When the schedule switch takes effect, streetcars will also arrive more frequently on the 505 Dundas and 511 Bathurst lines. Those service changes follow October's boost to service on Line 2, but that line is also set to see a major closure this weekend for planned track work. Trains won't run between Kipling and Jane stations on Saturday or Sunday. Replacement buses will run instead. Now, this comes as the TTC makes preparations for the opening of the long-awaited Line 5 and Line 6 LRTs. The Eglinton Crosstown LRT is still undergoing dry run testing with no specific in-service date, but when it opens, it'll run from Kennedy Station to a new transit hub just west of Black Creek Drive, Mount Dennis Station. That station will open Sunday as a TTC bus terminal and a stop on the GO Trains Kitchener line and the Up Express. That same day, a new pedestrian underpass will open at Eglinton West Station, soon to be renamed Cedarvale Station. And also Sunday, the TTC will be adjusting service on a few bus routes to better connect to the new Line 6. The Finch West LRT will operate from Finch West Station to Humber Polytechnic's North Campus. It's already completed its dry run, and operational control has been handed over to the TTC, with an opening date still pending. And if that isn't enough transit news to keep track of, there's also some major service changes for GO train passengers this weekend. Starting late tonight, GO buses will replace trains on the Lakeshore East line. They'll stop at GO stations outside the TTC service area and then run direct to Union Station. Same thing with the Stouffville line. Buses will operate instead of trains all weekend, but they'll only stop at Union and stations where TTC service isn't available. Well, basketball fans in the city are gearing up for the Toronto Tempo, Canada's first WNBA franchise. It'll hit the court starting in 2026. History was made with the announcement of the team's inaugural head coach, Sandy Brundello, and she joins us now to talk all things Tempo. Thanks for joining us, Sandy. Looking forward to this. Have you had any time to spend in Toronto?
Yes, I have. I mean, obviously, during the whole process, I went up to visit with Larry, the owner, and, get around the city a little bit. And then, obviously, last week with the announcement, I spent the whole week up there. So, really great city. Really, I can't wait to be there full time.
You know, it's an inaugural season. There's all sorts of challenges. What will success look like in the first season in your eyes?
Look, I think it's all about the process. I'm a really process-driven coach, and it really starts with bringing in really good talent, but great people as well, so we can build this culture and what kind of team we want to be like, we want to play like, and getting out into community. It's all about celebrating the future generations as well. But look, we want to put a tough team. We want to put an entertaining team onto the court, and success will come by. Let's just build a real great fan base and play really great basketball, and hopefully get as many wins as we can.
That would be great. What will be some of the things that you'll be doing in the off season?
Well, obviously scouting, a lot of scouting. I'm heading to Australia soon to scout some players there, and Monica Rogers and our assistant GM will go over to Europe and, preparing for the expansion draft. We get to choose one player from the other teams, and then free agency with the, we won't be able to start that until the collective bargaining agreement is being completed, and then free agency starts. And a lot of players are obviously free agents, so our task will be to sell our vision, becoming a world-class franchise, and obviously selling the city of Toronto.
Obviously, you've had plenty of success as a coach. Do you think your style has changed with experience over the years?
Look, I think experience really does matter. I've been doing this for such a long time. I played in this league a bit. I was a professional athlete for quite some time too. I know what success looks like. But it's always having that growth mindset, regardless if you're a rookie coach or an experienced coach like myself. The game changes, and it's staying up with those trends. But right now we don't have any players, and I'm really big on making sure we're putting in a system in place that allows the players to play into their strengths that they bring to the team, and with teamwork. But we'll certainly be leaning into being a great defensive team as well.
Basketball already big in Toronto, I'm sure you know this, but a pro-women's team, that is different. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have?
Hopefully massive one. Really exciting. That was one of the reasons. There's multiple reasons for me for choosing this next opportunity, but how do we create even more fans in a new country, in a different country? Now, Canadian basketball, they've got some great young talent coming through, but if you can see it, you can be it. And, the WNBA is a real movement now, and we are a global sport, so let's grow the game even bigger in Canada.
That would be great. Toronto Tempo head coach Sandy Brundello, thanks for your time and best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coming up, CTV News has learned the province plans to move hundreds of patients from hospitals to home care to reduce overcrowding. The opposition is raising concerns. CTV News has learned Ontario is quietly launching a program that could move hundreds of patients from hospitals to their homes, cared for by private companies. And as CTV's John Woodward reports, it's meant to help reduce overcrowding in hospitals, but it comes with some criticism.
Dr. Amina Jabbar has a problem in her seniors internal medicine unit just outside Toronto.
At the beginning of fall-ish, with a 30% rate of patients who just can't go home.
Can't leave the unit in the Trillium Health Partners Hospital, meaning there's no room for anyone new. A problem replicated across Ontario hospitals. Government figures say some 5,000 patients are in this situation, half of them waiting for long-term care beds that aren't opening up either. The Ontario government proposing to find a way to care for them at home, according to documents obtained by CTV News, the model called high-intensity bundled home care. A call for proposals for companies who can care for patients who meet a crisis designation, who have mental health or addictions issues, and who are awaiting rehab but can't get a rehab bed. At this stage, the ministry is planning for 570 weekly active patients across Ontario, 145 of those in Toronto. The government would pay a flat fee of $1,500 per week for people with mental health or addictions issues and $5,000 per week for anyone with higher medical needs. Critics worry there's already a worker shortage.
I hear from home care recipients all the time that it is very difficult to find workers. There are missed appointments. There are issues with, of course, the safety that comes with that.
The province's opposition is recalling problems with previous efforts at home care.
People going without catheters. We've all heard those nightmare stories. So I have some very deep concerns.
Dr. Jabbar, hopeful but skeptical it's enough.
It is the supports that we absolutely need at home. But frankly, it's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
There's a very short timeline here. The government is asking these companies to submit their proposals in a week, with the expectation their service will be up and running in 4 weeks.
The projected cost for the first tranche of patients is expected to be about $11 million. John Woodward, CTV News.
With respiratory virus season upon us, Health Canada just approved the vaccine against RSV for a new group of Canadians. But as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, they're still working on exactly who will be covered.
Jenna Ketty is 21, in university, and trying to live her best life while dealing with fibromyalgia and a rare form of arthritis.
You deal with a lot of stiffness and pain, and I am on a number of medications.
She's had several bouts of pneumonia over the years and even went into septic shock one time, and she worries about RSV every fall. So news of the expanded coverage for the Abrisvo vaccine is welcome.
It means a lot to folks like myself who, I live with immunocompromising conditions, so if I do get RSV, it's quite scary.
The Ontario government currently funds the vaccine for all adults aged 75 and older. The vaccine is also funded for all adults aged 60 and over who are living in a chronic care facility.
RSV immunizations are also covered for infants and pregnant women at 32 to 36 weeks gestation to protect their newborns. But Dr. Sean Edwards says the details of who will get coverage for the $240 shot in the 18 to 59 age group are unclear.
They may be getting cancer treatments. They may be on immunosuppressant drugs for chronic illnesses such as psoriasis. So at this point, we don't exactly know who in that 18 to 59 age category is best to immunize.
What he says is clear is that the vaccine can make a huge difference.
The vaccine was about 80% effect, 80 to 90% effective over 2 years at preventing hospitalization and critical illness such as ICU admission.
Right now, young adults with complex conditions like Jenna can talk with their doctor about getting a prescription for Abrisvo.
It's a somewhat nuanced discussion for younger adults, age 18 to 59, because we don't have specific NACI recommendations on this group yet. So it really would depend on the severity of their illness and the level of their immunosuppression.
It won't be covered by the province yet, but many private insurance plans will cover the cost. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Football fever is hitting Winnipeg this weekend for the 112th Grey Cup. And while hometown teams, the Argos and Ticats, aren't hitting the field this time, there's plenty of action in store as the Alouettes and Rough Riders gear up for a showdown. Joining me now is Rod Smith, the 112th Grey Cup play-by-play commentator. Just not the same without you doing the Grey Cup. How much fun is it for you to do this?
Well, I thank you for that, Nathan. Good to talk to you again, and greetings from the Peg, and it is always exciting. I've been a fan of this league, a fan of this event since I was a little kid growing up in Ottawa, and it is a thrill to get a chance to call another one, and I'm intrigued by this matchup. I usually am by everyone, but I mean, with some of the interesting similarities and the contrast, too, between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Montreal Alouettes, I think are going to make for a great game on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't wait. So the Roughriders are favored. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think they were the best team in the CFL in the regular season. I mean, they finished with a couple of losses, but that was after, you know, they had secured first place in the West and they were resting some players. There's that factor, so I think they deserve to be on merit based on the regular season. But also, one of the big questions for Montreal is the health of their star quarterback, Davis Alexander. He suffered a hamstring injury early in the season, in this his first year as their #1 QB. And even though he did come back, it's kind of been, you know, hanging over the Alouettes a little bit. You could see signs of it late in the Eastern Final and that victory over the Tiger Cats in Hamilton, that it was bothering him again. So he swears he's going to be ready. I've just watched him in practice, and he looks very good. You know, throwing well, moving around well, which is a key for him. But I think, and they have a couple of other injuries on defense, too. I just think that as much as anything, because Saskatchewan had had a chance to rest some key players who were hurt, I think they're a healthier team coming in. And really, a lot of this hinges on Davis Alexander, who is yet to lose. He comes in with a record of 13-0 as a starting quarterback in the CFL, and this is the biggest one of all, of course.
I mean, if he can't play or if he's not healthy, can the Alouettes still pull this off?
Oh, absolutely. McLeod Bethel Thompson is the #2 quarterback, and he is an experienced QB. In fact, these two teams met twice in the regular season, and because Alexander was out with that hamstring injury, Bethel Thompson played in both games. Now, they lost the first one. The Riders blew him out in Montreal, but then the Alouettes, with Bethel Thompson, flipped the script. He had a great day, his best game of the season at Mosaic Stadium in Regina, in beating the Rough Riders. That was the more recent meeting. And you may recall him, Nathan, with the Argos. He got the start in the 22 Grey Cup, which ended up being a Toronto victory in that one over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So Bethel Thompson has been on this stage before, and I think Jason Moss has said he still has confidence in him, veteran QB, and getting perhaps another chance, depending on how much of this game Davis Alexander is able to play.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I figured you'd ask me that. Honestly, you know, I'm usually wrong, so I can't predict a team. I will say this. These are the top two defenses. And I think there were moments in both division finals. It was a low-scoring game in the East, and for much of the West one, it was low-scoring as well. I think defense dominates. And I think it's low-scoring, and I expect it to be close. As for who wins it, flip a coin. There's so many ifs here, and I really can't predict one way or the other, but I am intrigued by the matchup.
Yeah, the game is always exciting. Can't wait. TSN's Rod Smith in Winnipeg. Go ahead.
No, just saying, you're absolutely right. A lot of them recently have been. I mean, certainly gone into the fourth quarter or right down to the end.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, take care, have fun, and enjoy, I guess, the few days left of Grey Cup week. One more day. Hopefully you can have some fun.
Absolutely. Good chatting, Nathan. Thanks.
Take care. And you can watch the 112th Grey Cup live from Winnipeg's Princess Auto Stadium this Sunday, November 16th at 6 p.m. exclusively on TSN and CTV. Well, the Leafs will be taking on the Blackhawks in Chicago tomorrow night after hosting the LA Kings last night, and the game ended up going into overtime.
Byfield, Kempe, and Doughty. Here's Doughty, across, scores. It's a game winner for Quinton Byfield.
The Kings scored 35 seconds into overtime for a 4-3 victory. The Leafs, who were without captain Austin Matthews and starting goalie Anthony Stolarz because of injury, have now lost 4 in a row.
Back to Shed, attacking, season opening, and leaves it for Scotty B. Brilliant basketball. Sure was.
The Raptors also have the day off after taking on the Cavs in Cleveland last night. They trailed by a point after the first quarter, but pulled ahead in the second and went on to beat the Cavaliers 126-113. Big win. Scotty Barnes led the way with 28 points and 10 rebounds. The Raptors will go for their 3rd straight win when they take on the Indiana Pacers in Indiana tomorrow. The Toronto Blue Jays is the winner of, or a Toronto Blue Jay, the winner of a Major League Baseball first ever Entertainer of the Year award. And most fans probably agree they made the right choice.
Hit well to deep left center. And this one will go.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gave fans plenty to cheer about during a sparkling season by the slugging first baseman. He helped his team win its first American League East pennant since 1993. A writer for Major League Baseball says Vladdy captivated the sport with his on-field and off-field theatrics, all the while showcasing both his fun side and depth of personality. Congrats.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Many people have already stored their motorcycles for this season. It's a pastime that's been increasing in popularity each year. Unfortunately, it's also led to an increase in crashes and fatalities, and changes are coming to insurance, which could affect motorcycle riders. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
Brian and Debbie Haynes of McTier, north of Aurelia, love to ride their motorcycle.
I love just sitting on the back, and we go through the back ways and stuff.
We loved it. It was our way out. Yeah. It's free.
But this past July, their lives changed in an instant. During a ride in the country, they were struck by a car.
I woke up and looking around, and I looked right down at my foot because I couldn't get up. I noticed right away that I didn't have a foot.
Both Brian and Debbie lost their lower left leg and foot.
So we're what you call the below-the-knee amputee.
You do feel that it's there. You have to kind of remind yourself and always touch and try to get your mind so you know it's not there.
The couple spent 2 months in hospital and recovery has been difficult. Fortunately, they had adequate insurance coverage to help them with treatment and therapy.
Now I look at life way differently.
Brian admits he wasn't really sure what kind of coverage he had until he needed it.
I kind of wanted the insurance for the bike, get on the bike and start riding, right? Let's go.
Starting in July of next year, changes are coming to the way insurance is sold in Ontario. Many benefits that were mandatory will now be optional. Nanish Kotek says motorcyclists who are most at risk will need to opt in to income replacement, death benefits, and other coverages.
I would encourage motorcyclists who are vulnerable members of the road to, in fact, make sure you purchase those benefits that are now being taken away.
Kotek says many accidents involving motorcyclists are not the rider's fault.
The majority of the time, in fact, the accidents with motorcyclists are due to inattentive motorists on the road.
As for Brian and Debbie, they're trying to stay positive and say the motorcycle community has reached out to them and been very supportive.
We don't want to take away from motorcycle riding. A lot of good people have come out of the woodwork that have talked to us and said, hey, we'll help you.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
The Ford government is considering appointing an administrator to take over the province's real estate regulator in the wake of the iPro Realty scandal. The Real Estate Council of Ontario, or RECO, found an alleged misappropriation of trust account funds at the Mississauga brokerage, but did not lay charges or issue fines. Stephen Crawford, the minister responsible for RECO, says an independent audit found significant issues with its practices, processes, and procedures. He's giving the RECO board 15 days to respond. A statement from RECO says it remains committed to carrying out its mandate to safeguard public interest, protect consumers, and support and regulate real estate agents. Toronto's own The Weeknd's announced a 6-figure donation to help families in Jamaica in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. The artist, whose real name is Abel Tesfaye, confirmed the news to Variety today. He's set to give $350,000 US, or nearly $500,000 Canadian, to the World Food Program. The Weeknd is a goodwill ambassador for the organization. WFP has been working alongside the Jamaican government to meet urgent food needs. It says the Weeknd's donation will support up to 200,000 Jamaicans as they recover from the disaster. Coming up, taking steps for a good cause. An annual CN Tower climb is back this weekend. We've got the details after the break. The United Way is hosting its 45th annual CN Tower climb this weekend. Hundreds of people will get their steps in as they attempt to conquer the nearly 1,800 steps as part of the organization's Climb Up fundraiser.
More than 6,000 people coming out to the CN Tower to climb it each morning. And the climb itself, most people can do it in between 20 and 35 minutes or so. So a lot of people think it's a huge challenge, and it is definitely a fitness activity, but anybody can really do it if you put your mind to it.
Proceeds from the event help relieve poverty and connect nearly 2 million people to support services in the GTA. One of many great things happening this weekend. And of course, the question is the weather going to cooperate?
If you're walking inside, absolutely.
Yep.
If you're walking outside, maybe not so much. It is more in the way of rain as we head throughout this weekend, so maybe a little easier to manage. And it will be quite warm through Saturday, so I guess warm rain better than cold rain.
Yep,
Depends on how you take your rain. But as we head in towards your Saturday, not a wash of a day, but keep in mind your afternoon and evening likely to be a little soggy as we step into that second half of our Saturday. But for your Friday, things are still quite nice. We'll see more peaks of sunshine throughout the afternoon before the sun sets just before 5 p.m. Temperature-wise, we're at 12 through Windsor. We're at 8 here in the city, 4 in Peterborough, 3 in Ottawa. So we're relatively mild and at or just above seasonal for the most part through central and southern Ontario. As we head into the day tomorrow, we get even warmer, but it is short-lived. We'll be at 13 for your Saturday. Again, that active weather likely to fall into the second half of the day. A little more sunshine late in the day Sunday, and then by Monday, we're back into cooler weather. But at least, Nathan, it is sunnier outside. I'll take it.
Yeah, not so bad. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca. For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a great day. I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Take care.